Gesicki mentioned to us yesterday that Ryan went out to lunch with him on his 30 visit. Did you guys have Ryan spend time with your offensive players on 30 visits and ask his opinion after, just out of curiosity?
I mean, really, if Ryan saw those guys in the building, like, he's always going to take time, get to know those guys, whether they're on offense or defense. I think that was more coincidence. That wasn't something that we set up.
Was the offense a little better today? Were you a little happier?
And we're getting better here and there. We'll have some good plays, some bad plays, and that's just kind of how offseason goes.
How do you assess the offensive tackle performance? I know they're going against a ton of guys and a lot of talent there, but are you seeing enough consistency from?
Yeah, because we're watching individual, we're watching the group periods we're working on. You know, really a lot of times it's tougher. No OTAs, you got no pads on. I mean, we're throwing the ball a lot. I mean, this is really a passing camp type, emphasis. So there's not much run game threat, and you know it's tough. I mean, it's good for them though, because you know you really have to be good with the cadence. You have to be good at getting out there, being ready for their counters. So I mean, those guys have to be on it.
With the understanding that this is all voluntary, we didn't see Josh out there. Is there an injury or is it personal? Or
I don't know. I don't have to tell you right now, right?
you do not?
What, if anything, have you seen from Isaiah Ford in his return from injury?
He's done a good job. He's made a lot of plays, a lot of catches. I think, you know, we felt so good about him last training camp, and it was tough for him, you know, getting hurt because he was making strides. He's starting to break through, you know, working him, you know, in the slot, and he still has ability outside, and he had a really good feel for what was going on. And you know, losing him, you know, I mean, I know he was disappointed, but then he worked hard to come back. He's been very productive this spring. We're just, you know, really for him, it's going to be about once we get to training camp, preseason games, like the live action stuff, because he hasn't had an opportunity to do that yet.
Adam, when it comes to Walt Aikens, is he a guy who is making his name in the league through special teams, and do you want him to think of himself as that, or special teams / DB? What's your thought on that?
I think that's a starting point. I think we're always trying to, you know, take guys that are excellent at special teams like he is and find a role for him somewhere on defense. I know he does a lot of different things. You know, he's safety, corner, he's played dime for us. He's done a lot of different positions on defense. We're always trying to, you know, get our best 11 on the field, and every week it changes as, you know, who's available, you know, where can we use certain guys. And, you know, I know he's worked extremely hard to try to find that role on defense. I know he wants to be a part of that.
Can versatility work against a player like that? That a coach is just, you know, we can plug him in here instead of finding
I think guys are just trying to get on the field. I don't think they really care what spot they're in a lot of times. They just want to have an opportunity to make plays and, you know, be a part of the solution of stopping the offense.
What went into the thinking last year, Bills game, about having him there in what I believe is like a dime package?
We wanted to, you know, we were kind of experimenting with a lot of different things in that game, and that was one of the things that we talked about doing, was trying to put him in, you know, put a little package together to where he could play defense, you know, just kind of give him that feel and see how he did. And, you know, he didn't have a ton of plays, but, you know, he did his job. And, you know, when you get it with him, he's a really good tackler, and we just wanted to try to put him in a position where he could drive on the, you know, whoever had the ball, whether it was a run or a pass, and where he's a guy that you can rely on to get the ball carrier down. And we're just going to keep working on trying to find the best spot for him as far as our defense goes. And, you know, we know what he can do on special teams. I mean, watching his film from last year, just when we went back and evaluated it, that was special stuff that he was doing.
Sorry about all the Walt Aikens questions, but with him, now that all the leaders are kind of gone from that special teams unit, some of Damian and Mike, does he have to step up and become a leader there?
I think he was a leader in a certain. He knew his role last year. I think he was ready to kind of step forward, and I know when I met with him at the end of the season, that was something that he was really going to focus on, especially in the offseason. And, you know, he's one of those guys, he does everything right, especially, once we get going in practice, when they start working individual, he works hard to make sure that he's setting the right example. And I've noticed him being more vocal than what he was in the past, but that, he kind of knew, that he was taking those steps towards, becoming the leader of the special teams group.
It looked like to us your offense kind of clicked on a little bit when you went faster. Were you happy with that? Was it a 2-minute situation or just trying to?
No, sometimes we're just trying to change the tempo of practice, and it's tough, especially, it gets heated up out there, and you go so many plays in a row, and it's kind of a good conditioning, but at the same time, the mental, gymnastics that you have to go through, and just really seeing, if guys can execute when it really gets tough and you get tired. It's a good thing that we do to really put pressure on both sides of the ball.
Adam, I'm curious, how challenging is it balancing the partiality you have for offense with the fact that those are your guys on defense too?
Oh, it's terrible.
Can you talk about it?
I mean, they're chirping at me a lot on the other side, so it's better on game day. It's better in game weeks because now you can play both sides except for one period a day. But it's a good thing though, that just kind of the energy those guys bring. They know how to get under my skin pretty good.
Adam, Jalen Balazs, the rookie, what have you found that he does really well in the few weeks you've had him out there in the offense?
I think he's progressing quickly. I mean, it's a lot on your plate as a rookie running back, especially when the defense starts to get in there, some of their exotic stuff on third down, and you're still trying to figure out some of the basic things that you're doing in the offense. And he's working hard. I mean, he's consistently been one of those guys that's always trying to find a way to get extra, spend time with other players. I know Drake spent a lot of time with him, just trying to really nail down the offense and then adjust to the defense when they're doing certain things. We've been just trying to do as many things as possible in the spring to get him used to things, because once you hit training camp, you don't have a ton of time to spend on one specific thing, and a lot of things are going to be flying at him once we hit training camp. So the more he knows now, the more reps he gets, the more defenses he sees, the adjustments, the better it's going to be for him down the road.
Has he done well lining up a receiver the way you've used some other running backs in the past?
Yeah, the whole group. I mean, it's just kind of part of what we do on offense. I'm not sitting there when we script. We don't sit there and say, hey, this guy's in here, this guy's in. We're just kind of, dialing it up and Rolodex and calls and just trying to put guys in different positions to where they have to think and react and kind of know how to do everything.
Going back to tempo, it seemed back when Ryan was healthy, he played better in the 2-minute situations than maybe the rest of the half. Is that a fair assessment, and why do you think he did that?
I don't know. Those last probably 6 or so games that he played really well, whether we were huddling or 2-minute or if we were trying to go up tempo. I think every day he's going to get a little bit better just because it's seeing more looks, and the defense does a good job of mixing things up. Matt's doing a good job of really giving those guys a lot of different looks. So I think whether we're going up tempo or we're huddling, he's gaining a lot of knowledge, getting a lot of experience, even more than what he already had.
Adam, how much is this looking like Ryan's team from a leadership standpoint through minicamp, through OTAs again?
Well, you see that he jumped right back in there, and guys were rallying around him and ready to go, and he's got good rapport with those skilled guys. Those guys are around each other a lot in the offseason when we're not. So those guys, they seem to be pretty close, and they're working well together, and I know those guys are pushing each other.
I know, as Mike Gesicki and Durham told us, it's so much about learning for them. But what have you seen that's left you encouraged in those moments when you can actually evaluate them?
Because they're getting to the point where they're not making the same mistake twice, 3 times. If they make a mistake, they're cleaning it up pretty quick. And those 2 guys spend a lot of time, making sure on paper they know what's going on. It's different once the pieces start moving. Defense front starts changing on motions and shifts and things like that. So it's all going to be about reps, and that's why we're trying to give those 2 guys as many as possible, because they've seen the least. And it's all about preparation for training camp.
Mike seemed to have, for at least the practices we've watched, his best practice so far. Did he impress you today?
yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell just from standing out there. I mean, things are moving pretty quick, and you're kind of watching a lot of different things. And he's had some good days. Where he's able to, he's getting opportunities, going to get the ball. When he gets moving down the field, it's impressive to see because that the speed increases very quickly.
Adam, we're getting Kalen Ballage and Jerome Baker in here later today. About the rookies in general, how tough is it for them to let their athleticism shine right now? Is it more about technique? Do they have to know what they're doing before they can be athletic, or how does that work?
I mean, really, that's what you're going to lean on most of the time is when you're fast and strong, and you just have football instincts. You can let those take over, and at least if you screw up, you're going 100 miles an hour. And I think you can see both those guys. The longer we've gone, the less mistakes they make, the faster they're able to play. And I think that's just really all those guys are trying to do. This rookie class has done a good job of trying to catch up as fast as they can, and just really use their speed and what they know to their advantage.
When they're in there, are you calling plays knowing and understanding that they know very limited amounts of things, the offensive guys, obviously?
Oh, we're pressing them. We're trying to do things that we install that day to kind of put pressure on them to be able to take it from here to the field, because that's what's going to happen during the season. When you hit Wednesday, Thursday, you're bringing it in the morning and you're heading to the field and executing it. And we're trying to put that pressure on them now so, they get used to it.
Last question, guys.
With the backup QBs, obviously you'll get a better sense in preseason games, but from what you've seen up to this point, are you happy with the group you have?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I've been around two of them for a while now, and, Bryce is coming in and done a good job, and we're just going to keep really just pushing those guys and keep opening with the offense, do as many things as possible. They're trying to get used to the guys that they're practicing with. I know even for David, it's a different group than he was last year. He was working with the threes, and this year it's more twos, and he's had some of those, Albert and Jakeem for most of the time. So those guys are really good receivers, and they challenge those DBs. So it's been good for both David and Brock and Bryce to get to work with a lot of the guys they're working with right now.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, guys.
His answer to every question.
Ay, 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 ay. Hasta luego contigo.